This field we're in is a field of winter bird mix. It's funded by the government. Farmers get paid, I think it's £832 a hectare to have it in. There are some specifications around it, but it's really flexible, so it can be a mixture of things that the cattle can eat later and things that the bird can eat first. It stays in over winter and has lots of small seeded species that birds like linnets that are just flying around our heads right now and are really loving this food, really enjoy. It's made a massive difference to the numbers of birds we're seeing. I was really interested in this mix because it pays well, and I'm really interested in finding ways to support those small family-sized farms, because they do amazing things for wildlife already, but they're really financially up against it. I didn't really know what birds I expected to feed on it, or whether I'd expect to hear that noise that we hear right now of thousands of birds over our heads, which I remember growing up on a farm as a child, but haven't seen or experienced like this until this winter. One of the things that the bird food mix does is it guarantees, providing the government pay you, a standard rate per year, which is reasonable, and you're not at the mercy then of the weather, the food prices, everything else. It makes a lot of economic sense for farmers, and obviously it's making good sense for the birds too.
There's a suite of birds in Cornwall which have been declining for a number of years, and these are called farmland birds, and many of them are on the red list now, which means that they're endangered, and they're not often found in many places they used to be found. But what we've been doing is lots of research into what these birds need, and as a result of that research there's been lots of work, lots of different organisations working with farmers to put some habitat back into the countryside, and there's been some incredible responses. The sort of birds that we call farmland birds are things like linnets, skylarks, even things like chaffinches, but also reed buntings and yellowhammers as well. And some of these birds are very, very localised now, so some of the habitats you can put in place are really critical for their survival. So for these farmland birds, surviving the winter can be a real challenge, and in particular they need to find food, which is usually quite small seeds, and these wild bird mixes are really important because what they do is they provide at least six different types of small seeds which are suitable for these birds to feed on. And the reason why you have quite a variety in the mix is that they all seed at different times through the winter, so there's always some sort of food around for the birds to eat. And basically what these birds are, something like a linnet might come and choose some sort of, maybe some linseed or something, and they'll be up on there and they get their fine bills, and what they do is they'll split open the seed pod, which is what that is, and when they open it up, inside you'll find lots and lots of little seeds. Now the ones here, these are actually quite dry, but what you can imagine earlier on or at different times, they might actually be quite wet and oily, and that oil is really important. It's carbohydrate, and that's what gets those birds through the winter. So since the farmers have put in the wild bird mix, there's been a significant change in the number of birds you can find in these fields, and some of the numbers are pretty incredible really. You can get flocks of over 1,000 linnets swirling around. We've had over about 750 chaffinches, and some quite good numbers of quite unusual birds like reed bunting, over 150, which is pretty incredible, and then birds like yellowhammers, where particularly on the edges where it's close to other habitats like semi-improved grasslands, where they use also as part of their habitat. We've had up to 15 or 20 yellowhammers as well. So yeah, this has made a really big difference, and it's really obvious, and it's happened very, very quickly. So it's something you can do, and it has a big impact straight away.
This year we've transferred to an annual seed mix, and that's worked really well. It looks nicer. We've included some sunflowers in the mix this year, which has attracted a lot of attention from the public, which has been really interesting. We've had comments that have been positive, which farmers don't often get for things they're growing, so that's been really good. And we've just noticed the number of birds around increase. I'm out walking the dogs and there's often a lot of birds that I wouldn't have seen 3 or 4 years ago. I think in terms of improving the service that government are giving us, there's 2 things. Either say when you're going to pay us. If you're going to pay us in December, pay us in December. Don't let it roll through until June. We've got bills to pay. We can't then go back to our suppliers and say, well, we can pay you. It may be now, it may be June, because that doesn't really wash with the people with our landlord who we owe the rent to, with all the sort of people that need our money, that makes the business go round. Ideally, they'd follow the model like the new incentive scheme where they're paying quarterly, and I think that would just help cash flow so much to have a quarterly payment, so we can manage our business more easily. I think in any business you want as smooth a cash flow as you can. You want the money coming in and out on a regular basis. When it starts getting lumpy, it starts getting much harder for everybody to manage, for bills to be paid, and for us to talk to our suppliers about and just plan a strategy of how our cash flow works through the year. So I think it's a brilliant scheme, but I just think it needs more careful thought about how that money is allocated and when it's allocated, and just more of an understanding of how that works practically for us on farm.
I've been working with farmers in Penwith for 15 years now. Farming's just a really long-term game. Decisions take a long time. I'm loving working with people's children that have grown up, and now I'm seeing them take over the farm and make changes. And it just takes a really long time to build those relationships. And the winter bird food success has been part of that, really. You can't change people's minds in 5 minutes. It takes trust and in sort of a good understanding of people's farm businesses, but we're really seeing the success of it now for the birds and for those local family-sized farms in Penwith for their business security as well, and that's really rewarding for me. I particularly like hearing the side of the soil health benefits as well, and how it helps to kind of keep a mixed cropping system in Penwith, which traditionally had that. So we're growing food for cattle, food for people, and also feeding the birds at the same time, which is a really good all-round win.